How's it going today, guys? Apple here, and I wanted to make this quick video to walk you through very simply how a Roth IRA works so that you can fully understand it and you know exactly what people are talking about when they talk about a Roth IRA. Personally, I'm a huge advocate of the Roth IRA. After starting my Roth IRA a couple years ago, it's now grown to over $30,000. It's on track to grow to about 4.5 million, I believe, at this point. And that's going to be on a completely tax-free basis. When I retire, I'll just have that $4.5 million that I can pull from to support myself. Pretty sweet deal. So let's just break it down very simply. So to start, okay, a Roth IRA at its most basic, kind of think of it as a bank account. Okay, think of it as an account similar to your checking account, your savings account, where you can just deposit money into this account, okay? That's the core of a Roth IRA. It's an account, okay? It's not an investment vehicle. You don't invest in a Roth IRA. You put money into the Roth IRA. That is the account. Now, within this account, there are some cool things that you can do. And so that's kind of where the growth and the magic happens, because similar to a bank account, if you're just putting money into the account, it's not doing anything. It's not growing for you. So once you put it into the Roth IRA, the account, that is where you start to have some options in terms of how this thing's actually going to grow for you, okay? Now, it's not just a bank account though, okay? It's got some really cool perks that we're going to dive into, okay? Like I said before, there are three main perks, three main drawbacks, considerations, restrictions that you have to keep in mind. That's what the whiteboard back here is going to be for. They're intended to help Americans save for retirement, okay? That's what the R stands for, individual retirement account. It's basically a tax advantage account that the government puts together, okay? So the government says, hey, we want to make this special type of bank account that's going to help Americans save for retirement so that we don't have to worry about footing the bill for everyone because they didn't take the time or the money to save for retirement, okay? So it's a special account, government puts it together, gives us some nice tax advantages, and so that's what we're going to dive into on the whiteboard right now. All right, so let's break this thing down as simply as possible. Okay, so on the positive side of the IRA, okay, basically, how does it work? Okay, the first thing you have to understand is that an IRA within this account, you can buy investments, okay? This is different than a normal bank account, okay? You know, in your normal US Bank or Chase or whoever bank account, you can't just go to US Bank and say, hey, in my bank account, can you just go buy a couple of shares of Apple stock, a couple of shares of Facebook? You know, you can't do that. But with a Roth IRA, you put money into this account and then you can use that money to buy investments like stocks, bonds, index funds, mutual funds, all that good stuff. You can even get fancy with it. Some of them will even let you go out there and buy things like real estate, private equity, whatever. We're not going to dive into that in this video. That's beyond the scope of this video. Okay, but just know you can use the money in your Roth IRA to buy investments. That's where the growth comes in. Okay, like I said, I have about a little over $30,000 in my Roth IRA right now. It's all invested mostly into low cost index funds, and that is on track to grow to over 4.5 million by the time I do retire. The next perk is that the gains on these investments that you buy are potentially tax-free, okay? So, and this is really, really big because normally when you make money, Uncle Sam wants to make money, okay? Obviously, Uncle Sam is your partner in business. When you get your paycheck, Uncle Sam takes a cut. When you make money on your investments, Uncle Sam takes a cut. But with the Roth IRA, there's the potential for that not to happen, okay? That's contingent on a couple things. Before we dive into those, I just want to emphasize how big of a deal this can be, okay? So we're going to talk a little later about the limits to contributing to your Roth IRA, but if you are to contribute the maximum to your Roth IRA every year, which happens to be $6,000 a year or $500 a month, on a continuous basis, invest that into low-cost index funds like I'm doing myself, you put yourself on track to retire with about $3 million in your Roth IRA, okay? Now, contrast that with an account that you would pay taxes on. With your Roth IRA, again, you get to retirement, you've got that $3 million. It's free and clear, yours, no taxes, no nothing on it. If you were doing this in a separate account, a non-Roth IRA account, you would owe the government about $500,000 in taxes when you wanted to retire. That's assuming tax rates stay the same, which honestly right now they're even a little bit low. So you're going to owe the government a lot of money if you invest in a retirement account that does not allow you to take your gains tax-free at the end of the day. So that's like a normal brokerage account, your Robinhood account, for example. You get to retirement, you're going to have to pay a significant amount of taxes on those gains, okay? The third perk is that you have easy access to your money, okay? This is a big misconception. A lot of people think that with the Roth IRA, you put the money in there and it's locked away. You can never touch it, okay? That is totally false. Okay, here are the rules so that you know them, so you understand them. There are two things that you're gonna have to think about, okay? Your contributions and your gains. These are different, okay? Your contributions are the money that you put into this account, okay? This bank account, okay? You put money into this bank account. The gains are the growth, okay? So say you put $1,000 into your Roth IRA, you invested into Tesla stock doubles tomorrow, and now you've got $2,000 in your Roth IRA, okay? 1,000 of that is your contributions, okay? And 1,000 of that is your gains because Tesla stock went up by $1,000, you made $1,000. The contributions that you put in, that original $1,000, you can take that $1,000 out whenever you want, leave the second $1,000 in there to grow, okay? Wouldn't recommend that. It's gonna drastically reduce the rate at which your account is growing, but you can always take back your contributions, okay? They're not locked away. This is a big reason why a lot of people don't invest in Roth IRAs. They think, oh, if I put money in here, it's locked away until I retire. Totally false, okay? Your gains, on the other hand, that's where you're going to run into issues if you want to take those out before you actually retire. And we're going to dive into that in just a second once we get over here to these red guys, these drawbacks, these considerations, okay? So now let's dive into those because here's all the good stuff, okay? The tax-free accumulation of wealth, really, really big deal, but there are some drawbacks that come with that, okay? Uncle Sam isn't just handing out free money. He wants to make sure that you're following a certain set of criteria to make sure this money is being put to good use, to make sure you're not taking advantage of these benefits that you are being given. Okay, so let's dive into those. Rule number one, this is the big one. You cannot take out your earnings until you are 59 and a half years old. Okay, so earnings, like we said before, there's a difference between your earnings and your contributions. Your earnings are the accumulation above what you invested. Okay, so like I said, you invest $1,000 in Tesla, it doubles tomorrow. You got that $1,000 of contribution, $1,000 of gain. If you want to take out the gain, then you're going to be paying taxes on that gain, okay? And you're going to be paying a penalty, okay? So you're going to be paying penalty and taxes if you want to take it out before 59 and a half. I know 59 and a half, pretty weird age, but the government likes to make some pretty weird rules. So that is the rule. There are some exceptions though, okay? Two of the biggest exceptions, one is that you can take out $10,000 for your first time home purchase. Okay, so if you're buying your first home, you can take out $10,000 of gains, tax-free, penalty-free, to buy that first home. The second exception is education. So if you're taking out money for higher education, you can also get an exception for that. But other than that, for the most part, unless you die, unless you get disabled, 59 and a half, you're gonna have to wait until then to take out the gains. Again, the contributions, take them back whenever you want. The gains though, you gotta leave those or else you're gonna see that penalty and you're gonna be taxed on them as if they were ordinary income, okay? So with that $1,000 you wanna take out of gains, you would A, be assessed a 10% penalty, okay, so that's $100, but B, you would be assessed your normal income tax rates, okay, so say you're in the 24% tax bracket, you're gonna be charged $240 in taxes to take that money out and $100 in a penalty, okay, so that's significant, okay? Don't do that if you're gonna open a Roth IRA. All right, rule number two is the maximum amount of contributions you can make, okay? So you can only contribute $6,000 per year to your Roth IRA, okay? Per year, $6,000 is the current maximum. Now they tend to raise that every couple of years. Right now, 2020, it's $6,000 per year. That's $500 a month, okay? And again, they limit this because it's tax-free money, okay? The government doesn't like to give out tax-free money. They like to collect their taxes. They like to make money. So $6,000 a year is where you're going to be capped out. There is a little bonus though. If you're 50 years or older, you can contribute an extra $1,000. So that'll get you up to $7,000 per year if you are 50 years or older. Now, the last rule has to do with income, okay? So this account, clearly it's gonna save you significant amount of money over time if you continue to contribute to it. But the government says, hey, if you make too much money, we're not going to allow you to use this vehicle, okay? So currently, to contribute the maximum amount to your Roth IRA, you need to be making less than $124,000 per year as a single person or under $196,000 as a married couple, okay? So as long as you're under those thresholds, no problem. If you're above them, you can potentially contribute a little bit less than $6,000. If you're too far above them, you can't contribute at all to a Roth IRA, which is unfortunate, but at that point, you're probably making a pretty significant amount of money anyway, and you can find other ways to allow your money to grow for you and to invest for retirement. So this is mostly for people who aren't those super high income earners. All right, so that's pretty much it. Now you know that a Roth IRA is basically a beefed up bank account that the government has put together to allow you to save for retirement on a tax advantaged basis. There are a couple specific rules you have to keep in mind with these accounts, like we went through, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. There's not that many bells and whistles that you need to know about. After watching this video, you now know all of the basics that are required to open up one of these accounts and get started investing with one. If this video is helpful for you, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Click on that little bell icon as well. It really helps out so you can be notified anytime I make more investing, retirement, Roth IRA related videos. I got one on the way soon on how to actually open one of these accounts. So if you've watched this video, you're interested and you want to know how do I take the next step and actually open one, that is coming soon. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Also, if you have any more Roth IRA questions, drop them in the comments below this video. I'd be happy to get back to you. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a personal finance nerd, a bit of a Roth IRA nerd, so I love answering questions and helping you guys out wherever I can. Until then, don't forget to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.